Hey, I'm Ryan Laukat. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the 6 Sojourns mini expansions that make the game modular and that you can use in the game to make each game different. So in the base game, there are actually 8 mini expansions. Some of these expansions are cards, some of them are tokens, and some are a mix of cards and tokens. And there's always a base set of cards, and when you add a mini expansion that has cards, you just shuffle those into the deck. You could actually play with all of the expansions at once, shuffling all the cards together, putting all the tokens out that you need to make a big conglomeration of different mechanics. But it's fun to kind of pick and choose the ones that you want to kind of change the game each time. It's a little like Dominion in that way. So the first mini expansion is the Places expansion, and these are cards that you add to the deck that give you points for controlling specific places on the maps. You have to pick the right cards for the right map that you're playing. If you get the deluxe version of the game that's offered in the Gamefound Campaign, you get a total of 6 maps, so there'll be 3 double-sided boards. And so you'll have to pick the right card set for the board that you're playing on. The next little mini expansion are trade tokens. Now these are tokens that you'll place on the board, and you randomize them each time. It's really interesting. It gives more variety to the boards. But anyway, when you place them on the board, if you control the space with those tokens, at the end of the game, you'll get the token. And this can create some interesting moments where players are like, oh, I can see that you want to get the blacksmithing token. I'll make sure to try to get that from you, and it can create some fun conflict in the game and some extra little objectives. The next one is specialties, and these are cards that give you new objectives that are like trade objective focused, and they have some interesting abilities. There's also upgrades. Upgrades are fun. They're a set of cards and tokens, and you put the upgrade cards in the deck, and when you pick an upgrade card, you get to place an upgrade token on a specific trade, and it can change the value of the victory points of that trade. So let's say I see that my opponent is picking a lot of sewing. They're getting a lot of sewing icons. And so I might take a trade, I might take an upgrade card and place like a -2 victory point on that. And so you can sort of affect each other. You can also play bonus ones. You can play at least 2 tokens on each trade type. And so you could increase something even by up to 4 victory points. And I love how that creates a tension between the players, what everybody's kind of collecting. If I see something is getting more victory points, I might start to try to collect more of those trade tokens and icons. The next one is called Sea Serpents. Now, sea serpents are tokens that you get to place on the map, and you place them when you pick a sea serpent card. And when you place the token, you immediately collect 1 coin from every player that has at least 1 boat in the space. And then it also adds 1 victory point to the value of that space. And spaces can have as many sea serpents as you want. So what's interesting, I've seen some games where certain spaces will just keep getting sea serpent tokens, and they'll get like up to 5 tokens, so a space is worth like 6 points. And so players are really fighting over that space. I love the conflicts that those add. That's a fun expansion. The next one is called Values, and these are cards. They're similar to the heroes that are in 8-Minute Empire Legends, if you ever played that game. In that game, you picked a hero at the start, a leader, I think they were called, and they gave you special abilities, and that's kind of what these values cards do. They give you not only a special ability, but also like a thing that'll give you extra victory points. Like there's one where it lets you build houses where there are other houses, which normally you can't do that. And then it also gives you 1 extra point for having each house at the end of the game. So it sort of incentivizes you to focus on building. But each value is different, and it's kind of fun to give players those little objectives at the start of the game. And then after that, the next one is called Feuds. Now feuds it's just 1 card, but it makes a huge change. It makes a big difference on how the game is played. So every space that you control that has at least 1 opponent piece in the space, it increases the value of that space by 1 victory point. So this can really create some extra conflict in the game, some extra tactical consideration when you're moving around. You know, at the end of the game, you might be like, oh gosh, I got to really take over as many of my opponent's spaces as possible because it's really worth it. It gives me an extra point. Not only does it take a point from them because I took the space from them, but it gives me an extra point as well. So I love playing with the feuds expansion. It's, you know, it really does change the feel of the game, like all these really can. And it's a small rule, but it makes a big difference. And then the last thing that's in the base game is called exploration. And it's 20 tokens. They're called explore tokens. And you shuffle them, you randomize them, you put them on the board. And it creates that exploration feel, like you're moving out and you're finding these tokens, and you can spend a move action to claim a token. You'll reveal it and look at the token. It'll give you some kind of bonus. It'll give you like an extra trade symbol, or it'll give you like a house or a person or a boat or all sorts of stuff. So anyway, those are only in the base game, and then there are extra expansions as well. So there are two big expansions that change the game quite a bit, and these are not included in the core game. They're in the deluxe version of the game. So the first one's called Volcanoes. This one lets you place lava tokens on the board. Some of the maps have volcanoes, and so you can place a token where there's a volcano space, or on a space that already has lava, or next to a space that has lava. And so you're kind of like flowing, the lava's like flowing out of the volcanoes, and these just compete with players. They make it harder to control the spaces. You have to have more pieces on a space than there are lava tokens. So it's an extra little thing to consider. Players might pick certain cards. Well, if you pick the 0, if you pay for the 0 or the 1 card, then you get to place a lava token. So players might pick those cards specifically so they can place more lava tokens to get in their opponent's way. And it can be really fun. And then the economy expansion is the final expansion. And this is a pretty big expansion. Every player gets their own economy board. And the economy board, they have little tracks that you can increase and get coins every turn. So at the start of the game, instead of starting with 12 coins, you only start with 4 coins. And it's more like like an economic game. And you'll be, so the way you move up the tracks is when you collect cards that have trade icons on them, if you have certain combinations, you can well, first you put them on the left side of the economy board. And then on your turn, you can do what's called developing the cards. So you'll take the cards and then you'll put them on the right side of your player board using up the icons that they have. And when you do that, you can move up certain tracks on your economy board. And this increases your income, the amount of money you get every turn. And so it's really interesting. The goal is to like really get a ton of coins by the end of the game. Like you only start with 4, but you might end the game with like 80 or 90 coins. And you also, one huge thing is you play on not just one game board, you play on 2 game boards simultaneously. And when you select cards, you can split actions between those boards. Like a card might let me move 4, and so I move 4 on one board, and I might move 4 on the other board. And the game's a little longer as well. It goes 14 turns instead of 9 turns. So we've been having a lot of fun playing with that expansion. We've been having a lot of fun playing with all these expansions in the office and testing them. And I think they really make the game unique and really replayable. So be sure to check out the Gamefound campaign and back the deluxe version of the game to get all the extra maps and all the extra expansions.